A biography of Krom Ngoy, the father of Khmer poetry. Compiled by Ethon and translated from Khmer to English by Khmerization. Uko or Krom Ngoy, better known as Krom Ngoy, can be considered as the father of Khmer poetry. Only two other poets, Oknha Suttantaprija and Santhor came close to his caliber. His many prose and poems, sung in the forms of songs, such as The Law for Men and Women and Krom Ngoy's Will, have been used as guides for many people throughout the country in raising their children. Many of his poems, which often aimed at guiding the people about their life, raising their children, and about the preservation of the Khmer culture and literature, were used as texts at many Cambodian schools. Krom Ngoy comes to symbolize as a Khmer icon during his time and afterwards. His poems rhymed so perfect. They mesmerize and hypnotize and captivate the audience's imagination when sang in the forms of the chape songs, singing while the singer plays a guitar-like instrument at the same time. As he had made a mark in the Cambodian literature history, and being the icon of Khmer poetry, his life accounts must be recorded, hence comes about the publication of his biography below. Krom Ngoy, 1865 to 1936. Language Master O, or Krom Ngoy, was born Uk-O, alias Ngoy, in the Christian era of 1865, the Buddhist era of 2408 in Anong Svay village, Kambal Commune, Phnom Penh district, Kandal province. His father, Uk, was the chief of Kambal Commune with the royal title of Chao Panhia Dharma the area. Chao Panhia Uk had a family lineage with the Lord Poc, who was a descendant of Kayova, Lord Bane, whose descendants ruled as the Lord Governors of Battambang Province from 1796 until 1907. His mother's name was Iang, who was a daughter of Chao Panhia Poc, the chief of Speen-Themer commune of the same district, Phnom Penh. Both his father and mother were the second children in their respective family. During his childhood he studied arithmetic and literature at Boeing Chork Temple in Bek Skor village, Bek Chong commune, in his native district. Young Uko was a very studious child. He had been ordained as a Buddhist novice in the village temple. A few years later, he left the monkhood in order to work for his parents. He also served as a secretary to his father in his capacity as a tax collector for the royal treasury. When he was 21 years old, he was once again ordained as a senior monk in his old temple under the guidance of Mr. Sass, Venerable Krauk, and Venerable Ung as his religious teachers. Venerable O, Krom Ngoy, learned about the Buddhist teachings and learned how to translate the Buddhist scripture, the Tripitaka, first under the guidance of Venerable Tith, a high priest of Ong Boeing Chork Temple. After that he went to practice vipassana, meditation, with religious teachers in various places. He stayed in the monkhood for 5 years. After obtaining enough knowledge, he decided to live the life of a layperson. After he left the monkhood, he returned to work for his father as both a legal advisor and as his secretary. When the country was in turmoil, he quit his government job and became just an ordinary farmer. He was a talented poet who has the ability to remember many ancient stories, both religious and non-religious. He was as well a talented musician and singer who can beautifully sing and skillfully play the ksadiv, the guitar-like instrument, at the same time. The villagers loved his chape song, the kind of prose which was sung while the singer was playing the sedev guitar at the same time, and they considered him as a scholar by presenting him a title of Krom Ngoy, Ngoy the language master. Ngoy, the language master, was a big man with bulging belly who liked to have his hair cut short and growing his mustache. He liked to wear a chorngkven skirt, wearing a round-necked shirt with big buttons, wearing thongs, and wearing a bird's nest-like hat. Wherever he goes, he always brought his walking stick and carrying his bag hanging from his shoulder. When he sang his poems, he always played the ksadiv, guitar-like instrument, along as well. His ksadiv can be disassembled at any time and reassemble as quickly as possible when he needed to play it. When he need to sing his chape song, he will take out a gourd shell from his bag, join it with his walking stick, attach the strings from the gourd shell to the end of his walking stick to build an instant guitar with a very nice sound. In winter, after he finished with his farm works, he was always invited by villagers, from near and afar, to sing or chant for their festival events. He never charged the people for his performances, but because they loved him and his performances, they always collected the money and the rice from the villagers to give to him. When he traveled through Phnom Penh, he always stayed at the Anolam Temple, the headquarters of the Cambodian Buddhist Patriarch, in order to use the opportunity to discuss about various religious issues with the senior Buddhist monks who resided at the temple. The topics of his poetic songs or religious chants were always talked about the current issues of that time, such as the following topics. 1. About life as farmers. 2. About the traditional marriage arrangements. 3. About poverty and its reasons. 4. About the lack of education and the illiteracy of the Khmer people. 5. About the lack of enthusiasm in one's works. 6. About the divisions and conflicts in both the lay people and the clerics' circles. 7. About foreign repression and oppression of the Khmer people. 8. About the lack of Khmer independence. 9. About the survival of the Khmer culture and Khmer literature. O's reputation as a talented poet has been told to the King of Cambodia. His Majesty King Sisowath invited O to come to sing for him in the royal palace. King Sisowath admired his poetry skills and he invited O to join the royal band and presented him with the royal title of O, the language master. But because there was someone in the royal band named O already, His Majesty asked everyone to call him Ngoy instead, so as not to be confused with the other O. Since then he was called Ngoy or Krom Ngoy, Ngoy, the expert. Ngoy's reputation as a poetry expert was not confined within Cambodia alone, it has spread to the Kingdom of Thailand as well. The Siamese prince named Krom Pra Thamrung Rajanupharp and a Frenchman named Georges Coeds had an audience with King Sisowath. During the musical performances for the two foreign guests in the royal palace, Krom Ngoy had outperformed the other musicians with his ksadiv. His reputation had spread to the people of Thailand. The Thai king sent a royal letter to the Khmer king asking for a royal permission to invite Krom Ngoy to sing for him in Bangkok. Krom Ngoy went to Thailand for 3 months and received a cordial royal reception from the Thai king and his officials. The Thai king then presented him with a title as the language master Phiro Liu Kern, the master of the melodious voice. The king also presented him with silver buttons, money, and other paraphernalia. There was a story circulated around that when Krom Ngoy returned to Cambodia through Battambang, he met another skillful poetry singer named Phiro Ngoy, the language master. Because he had heard that Phiro Ngoy was a skillful poetry singer, Phiro Ngoy asked him for a competition. In the song, Phiro Ngoy asked Phiro Ngoy, "Where is Meru Mountain? Where is it located? How high is it? How far is it from here?" Phiro Ngoy replied, "If you are so curious like this, do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want me to lie?" Phiro Ngoy retorted that, "I asked in a bona fide, therefore you, Phiro Ngoy, must answer in bona fide." So Phiro Ngoy answered, "How big, how tall, and how far was Meru Mountain from Battambang?" And if Phiro Ngoy did not believe him, he must go and see it for himself. Phiro Ngoy responded that he believed what Phiro Ngoy had just described to him. So, in return, Phiro Ngoy asked Phiro Ngoy, "How far is Battambang market from Phnom Penh if one travels by road? And how many kilometers if one travels by way of Tunnel Sap River?" Phiro Ngoy cannot answer. Phiro Ngoy then sang by throwing critical, sarcastic comments at Phiro Ngoy that a place and a country where you used to live, you cannot answer me. And you asked me a place where I had never been to. Even if I lied to you, you wouldn't know if I lied or not. Phiro Ngoy continued to throw critical, sarcastic comments at Phiro Ngoy until he felt so embarrassed and walked off the stage. The audience enjoyed the poetic exchanges and cheered for Phiro Ngoy when Phiro Ngoy walked off the stage. The governor of Battambang presented Phiro Ngoy with winning trophies of 1 white horse and 400 riels in cash, a huge sum at that time. Since then, many prose singers were afraid to sing in a competition with him. Only a village chief named San of Plung Ches Rotas Commune, Phnom Penh district, who was his very good friend and his usual duet, who can face up to his poetic skills. Wherever these two went to sing, people from near and afar came in their big crowd to listen to them sing. Later after that, Mr. Georges Coeds introduced Phiro Ngoy to Miss Suzanne Carpelles, who was the director of the Buddhist Institute in Phnom Penh. In 1930, Miss Suzanne Carpelles asked Phiro Ngoy to sing all his poetry songs again so that the scholars at the Buddhist Institute can record and publish them in books. As a reward, Miss Carpelles gave Phiro Ngoy 1 riels in cash as a token of his love for the Khmer culture. In order to preserve his masterpiece, the Buddhist Institute published his poetry into 4 books and later combined them into only 1 book. In fact, Phiro Ngoy had verbally authored many poetry songs which were not published in books because Phiro Ngoy, the poet, just sang from his mouth and did not write his poetry on papers. His masterpieces, which we had found in books to this present day, are 1. Chbab Laboek Themi, The Law of the New Prose, a ballad of 4 rhyming words, 1922. 2. Chbab Kikal Themi, The Law of the New Inheritance, a poem of 4, 5, and 6 rhyming words, 1922. 3. The Advice on Life, a poem of 7 rhyming words, 1931. 4. The Law for Men and Women, a poem of 7 rhyming words, dates unknown. 5. Bandam Krom Ngoy. Krom Ngoy Swal, a poem of 7 rhyming words, dates unknown. Other than the above-mentioned works, there were many other works which survived up until today, but they were not attributed to any writers. Many past scholars considered them to be the works of Krom Ngoy, such as the following titles: The Gratitude, The 3 Attributes, The Law for Men and Women. Language master Krom Ngoy was married to Mrs. In and had 6 sons. They are 1. Dong, 2. Cheng, 3. Cha, 4. Chen, 5. Chong and 6. Shev. Among his 6 sons there was 1 son who inherited his poetry skills. He was Chong, the 6th son, who was respectfully called Achar Chong. Achar meaning a learned man. There were some people who knew that Krom Ngoy had 1 grandson who inherited his poetry skills and became the Ai singer. Ai is another form of a duet poetry song performance, often between a man and a woman throwing sarcastic comments at each other while they sing. This grandson had a very thin build and people called him Ni Slok, Mr. Leaf, because he was as thin as a leaf. When he sang the Ai song, he always introduced himself this way: My birth village is located west of Pochentong, and I am the son of Achar Chong and the grandson of Achar Ngoy. Language master Krom Ngoy passed away on Friday, the 6th day of the moonrise in the lunar calendar, the 12th month of the Buddhist era of 2479, the Christian era of 1936 at age 71 years old, due to constipation. The environment of Cambodian society from 1865 to 1937. During those past 70 years there were many important events which took place in Cambodia that caused widespread nationwide crises in all sectors in the society, which affected the livelihood of the population throughout the country. The Cambodian people has lost their freedom as the master of their country which they had enjoyed before. In 1884, 1. The French colonialist authority used their power to violate Cambodian sovereignty and stopped recognizing Cambodia as an independent country any longer. On the contrary, France forcibly put Cambodia under its colonial rule. Since then we saw that the country's administrative, economic, social, cultural and educational systems were changed into the French ways. Notable changes were: 1. Most administrative officials in Cambodia were foreigners. 2. There were land distributions and land titles were given to the population in order to make it easy to tax collections. 3. New money were printed in place of the silver coined that were used for generations. 2. 4. The transfer of properties from the royal treasury to the state treasury called Trésor Unique du Cambodge. 3. 5. The introduction of Western culture and civilization into the country, including in many areas as literature, language, ways of life, costumes, arts, music, dances and songs and so on. On the other hand, from 1914 to 1918 World War I broke out in Europe. Even though the war did not happen in Cambodia, but the consequences of that war have affected the country severely due to the fact that Cambodia was a French colony. And so much of Khmer blood were spilled in Europe due to the French engagement in that war. At that time, the French colonial authority conscripted Cambodian into the French army, and many were sent to help France fight a war in Europe. Many have died on the battlefields, and many bodies were not repatriated because they had no identifications. The population inside the country suffered greatly due to the economic depression, due to natural disasters such as floods and droughts, which led to a general famine in the country. There were widespread diseases which spread fast due to the lack of medicine. And the French colonial authority still taxed the population heavily, which imposed on the cattle, farm equipments, and other equipments in order to raise revenue to fund the war and to restore the country's economic growth after the war ended. The tax collection on goods and the economic depression and the lack of harvests due to droughts caused high inflation, which made the prices of goods to rise every day. At the same time as these events occurred, foreign traders and local business people took advantage by exploiting the situations and profiteered from the Khmer population, which the majority of them were poor illiterate farmers who cannot read and write and who lacked arithmetic skills.